final rule. It's called Pet a Cat When You Encounter One on the Street. And it's the most personal chapter in the book. It's a lot about my daughter. And my daughter was very ill when she was a kid. But, and as a test of your faith, there's almost nothing that's more direct than a serious illness inflicted upon an innocent child, right? And so the chapter's a meditation on that. And, you have to look for that little bit of sparkling crystal in the darkness when things are bad. You have to look and see where things are still beautiful and where there's still something that's sustaining. And you narrow your time frame and you be grateful for what you have, and that can get you through some very dark times. And maybe even successfully if you're lucky, but even if unsuccessfully, then maybe it's only tragic and not absolute hell. And you can do that, in the worst situation. You can make it only tragic and not hell. And there's a big gap between tragedy and hell. There's nothing worse at a deathbed than to see the people there fighting. The death is bad enough, but you can take that, as terrible as it is, and make it into something that's absolutely unbearable. And maybe I think, and this is sort of what I closed the book with, is this idea is that if we didn't all attempt to make terrible things even worse than they are, then maybe we could tolerate the terrible things that we have to put up with in order to exist. And maybe we could make the world into a better place, and it's what we should be doing and what we could be doing because we don't have anything better to do. And that's what the book is about. And that's the end of 12 Rules for Life.
In this chapter 12, Pet a Cat When You Encounter One on the Street, Jordan Peterson reveals the deep religiosity with which he lives. You might think he is not a religious person because earlier he refers to the billions of years, which sort of contradicts the Bible story, and he relies on psychology and science. And so you might think that he's not a religious person, but he reveals how deeply religious he is in this chapter because, well, one thing is the beautiful phrase he uses, that when you don't take responsibility for improving the social landscape, you leave a hole exactly the size of your soul. Wonderful poetry there. What is a soul if you're not religious? There's no such thing as a soul. More than that, his conviction that you can always face tragedy and make something out of it, make lemonade out of lemons, to use another phrase, displays a faith in the future. And there's no reason, if you don't have religion, if there's no God, if there's nobody organizing this universe, then there's no reason to have that faith in the future. In fact, even the people that profess that they're not religious, I think, are deep down religious because, they'll try to improve the world with climate change or population growth or other socialistic tendencies or rules or methods of government. They're seeking to make a better world. Why? If there's no God, if we're all here randomly an accident, then the only thing that makes sense is to pursue your own pleasure as much as you can and forget about everybody else. And I know you're going to argue with me, but think about it. If there's no God, then that's really what everybody should do. The fact that they don't is proof itself that everybody deep down believes there is a higher purpose, a higher calling, and that's we can call God. The argument is about the nature of God, but that there is a God, I think everybody intrinsically knows. Getting back to the point here is, how can we train ourselves to confront those setbacks in life? That's what we're getting at. And Jewish teachings has an answer, and it's a phrase, Gam zu latova. This too is for the best. Although I don't like that translation. I prefer this too can be for the best, because it's up to us to take action and make something better out of it. But that is a phrase that you should have constantly in your head, because we all, every day, we run into things that disrupt us, that disappoint us, that challenge us, and the proper response is to always say this too can be for the best. If the world is not random, it's being run by a creator, and even though I may seem to be a small cog that, I slip through the cracks, not so. Look, Google responds to you with 3.7 million responses in 0.002 seconds. Google is something we invented. If Google can respond so immediately to you with any question you put to it, then the creator of the universe also has time and interest and the power to respond to you and to organize your life. And if things happen that are not that welcome, that means that there's a response that you have to develop to overcome that challenge. That challenge is there for you. That gam zulatova. This too can be for the best. You can rise to the challenge. You can make something out of this. You can make lemonade out of lemons. So anything that happens to you, Jewish teaching is have this attitude that God is in control of the world. He's running it. He's looking after you. He's concerned with you. He's paying attention to you, just like Google. And your response has to be, now what do I do about it? And that changes your whole life. Gam zulatova. This too can be for the best. It can.